Hello! Welcome to the Dad Report, a podcast for dads, by dads, about dad stuff.
Join us as we sit down and have meaningful conversations with friends, family, and coworkers.
We will talk about life, family, and so much more while working towards a goal of creating a healthy idea of what it means to be a dad. All right, it is time to open up a new Dad Report. Chad, how you doing?
Hey, so Justin, just so I know, the Dad Report is now open again. So we close it and then we open it. I'm confused.
Right. I mean, I'm treating it more like files and a filing system than just this random thing that we do. We're opening a new Dad Report. Every time I interview somebody new, it's a new Dad Report.
Cool. Well, I'm glad that we are confirming this.
Yeah, no, the show is not dead. I know there was concern after last week's recording with Wade that the show had ceased. No, we're still alive and well.
Well, thank you for clearing that up for me, Justin. I would like to introduce our guest this week because he is a personal friend of mine and been talking to him for a little while. He tried to run away, but I got him. So I would like to introduce Tate Luck. Tate, welcome to the Dad Report.
Thank you, sirs. Glad to be.
Hey, Tate.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was just saying.
It's kind of cool actually to talk about dad stuff, and to me, it's exciting.
Awesome. Well, we're glad to have you here. So, Tate, the way I know Tate, Justin, is we were in Disciple group together for a while. We both go to 1122. They currently attend the Arlington campus, and so we've kept in touch a little bit here and there. So Tate, I'll give you a minute. Why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself and we'll get started.
Well, my name is Tate, and I have known Chad, like I said, about moved here in 2016. I met you soon after that, so about 6 years now. And I actually have a background in radio and broadcasting. I do a lot of that. I do a lot of different things, and now we get to hear my wife getting mad at the dog because they're getting in the trash. I gotta love real radio here in their house. So yeah, I've been in broadcasting for a long time. I grew up in North Carolina. Chad and I found we have that a little bit in common too. I was in Burlington, right between Greensboro and Chapel Hill, Raleigh, Durham, and he's in Charlotte.
That's right. Good memory.
So yeah, I was born, raised there at about 20, I was about 26. Then I thought it was a great idea to go to Columbus, Ohio, for about 11 years of my life and working radio, working at different stations. And it was always fun. But the funny story about that is I got there on December 2nd of 1995. And it was like 75 degrees. I think it was too bad. Nah, I can dig this. Well, then about a week later, the next Saturday, it was 15 degrees with a wind chill factor of like 5. It was a little shocking, I must say. That was a very different winter for me because I'm not used to that cold. But yes, after that, went to Nashville for a couple of years, worked for a record label called I&O Records. Back then, now it's called Fair Trade, which is the label you might have heard of, Mercy Me. Some group called Skillet's on there. And
I love me some Skillet.
So I worked with a lot of those artists back about 10, 12 years ago. Then, we moved to Florida, Orlando, worked for a big Christian station there for about 5, 6 years and decided to go on my own and moved to Jacksonville. And that's where we are now and meeting Chad and all that. So that's kind of like my background. I'm married for 20 years.
Congratulations.
Beautiful AJ Luck. Is a great author. Go check out our website, ajluck.com. Sorry. I'm a plug guy.
Plug. This is your moment to shine.
We'll make sure to put it in the show notes.
That's fine. No, so she's wonderful. We have a 17-year-old son who's 6'5", named Marshall. He's a really good guy. He's watching him grow and watching him, turn into a young man. It's been really fun to watch. It is interesting sometimes because it's weird when they're 17, they have a tendency to float between very mature and back to 13 again. A blink of an eye. So
26-year-olds do that still too.
Yeah. So there's my background a little bit, and I appreciate you guys let me get on here and talk.
Okay, so Tate, as I warned you, We like to open up our episodes with a dad joke. Do you have
Yeah,
one you'd like to share?
absolutely. I always come prepared.
All right.
So, yeah, man, your dad is so big. Well, my dad was so big when he walked past the TV, he missed 60 minutes.
Oh man.
What was one I gave you yesterday? Oh, Chad and I were talking yesterday to prepare for this. Oh, I know it was. Yeah, my dad was so skinny I could shove him underneath the door if I locked the keys inside to unlock the door.
That's the one you told me. Yes. Yes, wow.
Oh my
These are
God.
some old school. I haven't heard these kind of jokes since like high school. This is great.
I've never heard these because these have always been your mama jokes.
That's
I know,
yes,
that's why I got it
Yes,
right.
yes,
Exactly.
yes.
Playing the dozens, you know.
Oh my.
Oh man,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
funny. I was thinking about the other one. Oh man, yeah, your dad's so big that when he sits around the house, he sits around the house. You've heard this. It's pretty bad. I mean, it's funny growing up. We played the dozens, and teachers. Oh my goodness, they get so mad at us for doing that.
Oh,
I was thinking,
absolutely.
man, and versus today's society, I think they would go back to the dozens based on what's going on today. That's kind of how I
Yes.
look at it. Oh. There you go.
He's having too much fun. For those of you listening and you're like wondering where the sound effects coming from, this is not me editing. These are sound effects that Tate brought with him because he's a professional and Chad and I are amateurs.
Yeah, so Tate, so I'd actually like to maybe segue a little bit and talk about that. So you mentioned a little bit about your background in in record labels and radio and
Right,
some of
right.
that kind of stuff. So if you would maybe just give us a few details on that, and I'd love also to hear about kind of what you're doing these days.
What I do a lot right now is I am a consultant for a lot of different Christian radio stations. Like I'm working with the Hope Media Group out of Houston, which is KSBJ, Engine Radio, and a few other stations like that. I work with Boost Radio in St. Louis. I work helping them with either music or talent coaching, like the on-air talent, helping them become better and better communicators. Do a lot of that. And I also do helping with like I said, the music framework. And I also just help them think through things. We strategize, try to be strategic about things and just helping. Because sometimes just having that third party looking in the window has a better perspective than people that are around all the time. They don't see the same thing you're seeing from the window looking in. We have a tendency to look out versus in to what's going on. And that's where I kind of play that role.
Very
That's
nice.
awesome.
Yeah, I remember when you kind of just talking and you would share some of that. I don't know really anybody in the industry, so I don't know, that stuff was just fascinating to me. You also do some podcast work, do you not?
Oh yeah, I've done some podcast work. I'm one called Hectic, and Hectic is like it's kind of like how to be a young entrepreneur. I just do editing and help out in that area. I'm not on the show. They're supposed to get me on the show, but hey, you guys beat them.
Yes.
So yeah, but I've worked with other podcasts, just helping them understanding how to communicate. I have no idea what that was. Helping them understanding how to communicate and just how to structure their shows. I've worked with shows just to help them a little bit of marketing, that kind of deal. And podcasting is something that just really has blown up, but it is a hit or miss thing. I mean, there's a dime a dozen now. Back when it first got started back in 2004 and 5, I mean, it wasn't many around. Unfortunately, Justin would probably been 5, 6, but that's
in 05, I would have been 9.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
All right.
That's great.
So no, actually, podcasting is growing. I have some that I personally like to follow. I follow the Mark K Show. If you ever listen to that one, I follow. We follow Joyce Meyer. I know that's one of the ones that's on my list. 1122, of course, and with Joby.
Absolutely.
And I'm trying to think what else do we. I mean, I have several things. I have some tech podcasts like This Week in Tech with Leo Laporte.
Oh yeah, that's one of the ones I listen to as well.
Yeah, he's one of the originals.
That's right.
He's a cool guy. I like Leo. And we also, oh man, there's a lot in the podcasting world now. It's a good chance to where you can get on there and you can actually talk about things that people will hopefully find interesting, and perspectives that don't get out there as much. You don't hear in the population as much. And I think that's what's really cool. Like this dad podcast, it's kind of nice. I mean, his dad's talking. We're talking about life, talking about, what we're, dealing with. I'm pretty sure we'll get some kid stuff here, stories, whatever.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
With all that being said, podcast is a great place to have a creative outlet and just get your ideas and get what you feel like that you are meant to say. And if you are following God, what God wanted you to say. Hope that helps.
Good. That's good.
Yeah, that is good.
That'll preach.
That'll preach. So Tate,
Sure.
another thing that our listeners will not know is that you are blind.
Oh yeah, that's why. Yeah. Yes, I am.
So talk to it.
Thanks for reminding him, Chad.
Yeah. Well, I was going to start off by saying I was born a poor blind child with one arm, but I thought that whatever.
Last time I checked, you still had both your arms.
Yes, I do. Plus, you can probably see them on the video. So there you go.
And for those
going nuts.
For those watching on video, we can see your expensive taste in microphones.
Yeah,
which Justin and I are both jealous of.
Well, the 10th commandment, right? That's all I want to say.
What's that?
The 10th commandment. That's all I'm going to say. Don't cover a brother's microphone.
Oh man! Oh wow! Wow!
If you want it, I'll give it to you.
I mean, you could just do we have any listeners out there who want to give up a love offering to the Dad Report?
Love offering.
Yeah, there you go.
We need $1,200 for Chad and I to invest.
That's right. $1,200, and they would sound better and bigger than ever before.
Wow.
No, actually, podcasting is fun. I like the idea of it. It's just a place to, like I said, be creative and get out there and just do your thing. And you can pretty much find a podcast on anything. There's probably one on knitting. Yeah.
I believe it.
And there's
sure
the sports podcasts are insane. I mean, if you can find,
oh yeah.
I mean, there's everything there's one, probably 500 for everyone to every team out there. So you can get all kinds of perspectives. And that's what I like about it. You can do that. Like if you want to look at Jaguars or to find out how bad they're going to be this year, you get a podcast about that. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Someone's starting it now.
I sound like I have Christmas going on right here. I always get the dogs in. Yeah, that's the dog going in the kennel behind me. Might be able to see him. Let's see. I don't know if you can or not.
We just saw somebody just for a split second out of the corner. That was it.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. He's right behind us. But no, I also just one of those things that I was sitting here thinking, like another one I listen to for podcasts is weather. Like Mike Baresh has one, which is the big weather guy here in Jacksonville. And every weekday morning, I can get a little more in depth of what he wants to talk about, and what he's trying to accomplish. And I think that's really cool. That's what I love about podcasts too, because you can get some more in depth of things you're interested in. I mean, there's everything from cold cases out there to what was the one I just heard the other day I thought was interesting. And some people are doing like books that they've written and dramatize them as podcasts. I think that's a guy named Scott, somebody who did that back in 2007 and 8, and now he's New York Times bestseller. So
yeah, audio dramas. Yeah,
audio drama. That's what it's called. Yeah, audio dramas. And I thought that was really cool.
Those are awesome. There's one called Star Tripper. It's
I heard of that one. I haven't heard it, but I heard of it.
It's a sci-fi audio drama, and it's a lot of fun. A buddy got me into it, and I binged it for a solid week and a half.
Yeah, Scott, the Scott guy I was talking about, he's also kind of like he's a mixture of like Michael Crichton mixed with a little more science, a little more like suspense thriller type stuff.
So
really good.
Not quite Stephen King, more like a
right. Not as far as that.
Clive Cussler, Michael Crichton.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
That works. I mean, I
Dirk
love to
Pitt
read.
in Jurassic Park.
I love to read. So I read about 40-50 books a year. So
That's
I do
awesome.
I do audio from Audible, and they're not a sponsor. Don't worry.
I'll have to bleep you out for saying that word.
Yeah, one day I was saying this episode brought to you by Audible.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that kind of stuff.
I mentioned just briefly, about about you being blind, and I'm
Oh yeah.
curious. Let's maybe we can use that to kind of segue into some family talk. But I'm
Okay.
curious. I know people would be interested to know like how that really how that impacts your life as a husband, as a father. Just because I just remember when you and I first met, kind of seeing some of the tools that you have and seeing
Oh
just
yeah.
how
Mhm.
interactions are different and that kind of thing. Like, just wondering if you could just talk to that a little bit.
Okay. Well, being blind is it's kind of hard to compare since I've only experienced that for the most part. When I was little, I actually could see a little bit, not much. I could read like the last thing I remember watching is like Dukes of Hazzard and the Jeffersons back in like 1980.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's the last thing I remember watching on TV before my vision started diving anymore. I still have something called light perception. I can
Okay.
tell the light behind my computer is turned on, but I can't see outlines. I can't define what I'm seeing. I can't, like it's just I can see light and that's it. I mean, I can tell it's daylight, dark, that kind of thing. But I can't see images or anything. As bright as you can get it, it still doesn't help.
Mm.
Okay.
And so growing up, yeah, I've always been a guy that's like when I'm growing up, I just never took no for an answer and got me in a lot of trouble sometimes just because I really wanted to do radio. I wanted to get into it. A lot of people wanted to be like firemen or whatever at 9, 10 years old. I knew I wanted to get into communications, radio broadcasting. And I did mobile DJing when I was like 10 years old for junior high school. So my dad would
Oh, wow.
take me. So it was really fun. It was a lot of cool things that happened. And growing up, I just never said no. I went to the Governor Moorhead School for the Blind in Raleigh, North Carolina. And that's the same school that Ronnie Millsap, which you probably don't know who, I don't know, somebody you might know who he is. He had like 40 number one country songs. He also was a touring piano player for Elvis, and he was totally blind.
Hmm.
Ronnie Millsap.
Okay. I've heard the name,
You
but
probably heard
I
the
couldn't.
song. You probably heard one song, "What a Difference You Made in My Life."
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's Ronnie. There's lots of Ronnie songs that are really good. Some of them hit top 40 back in the 80s too. So that makes it a little more fun. But yeah, he was cool. I've met him a few times. He was really nice. Um, I don't know how long he's been married for a long time though, but he's like lives in Nashville still. He's like 78, 79 years old. So he's a cool guy. I really enjoyed getting to meet him a couple times in my life. He would come out to the school about once every year or so and do a free kind of like acoustic concert for all the students at the Governor Moorhead School. But
That's
being
cool.
blind as a family guy, I mean, my wife can probably answer better that than I can. But I mean, I guess it was different for her. I mean, she had to figure out how to work with me, and after a couple of poles and a tree and a limb and some other things, we started getting better. So she didn't mean to walk me into it, but hey, it's what happens. And things happen. You move on. I still married her. That's the cool part. So
I must say, I have not a lot, but led you around a little bit, and
Mhm.
I feel like I did a horrible job.
Oh, you did fine.
So
You did fine. I
I
mean,
don't
got out of the
think you
ER
walked
pretty
in
quick.
any polls, but
I mean, I got out of the ER pretty quick after walking with you. They were pretty quick getting me in. Like I've been beat up on a street corner. But
Chad, you
You,
didn't see the open manhole cover?
yeah,
you-
that's
yeah, like on Looney
well,
Tunes.
he's probably thinking he had a chance. It's only halfway open. He could miss half or maybe not. I kind of split the difference.
So the ER's like, oh look, Tate, he's back again.
There you go. Well, the cool thing about being blind now is that there's so many better tools. I mean, there's tools now that I wish I would have had when I was growing up in school where, I mean, we were so old school, we used an abacus as our first computer. You know, that's how old school we were. And that was true, though. I learned how to add and subtract and multiply on an abacus.
Oh
I
yeah.
couldn't do it today to save my life, but I did it then because I had to get decent grades. So, but you learned, and I didn't touch a computer. The first time was like 86, 87. And I didn't even mess with, and I think I didn't even mess with one again till like 98, 99. So it tells you how bad the computers were running for blind people not having voiceover or some type of screen reader. That's what it's called.
Mhm.
Maybe a sample of that.
Leaving menus. Zoom.
There you go. That's the voiceover I have on my computer, so I can hear what the screen says and read emails, return emails, do audio editing, and do all this on my laptop. And I just have a program called JAWS that allows me to have access to all the visuals, if it's coded right, on the screen, which is really, it's really a cool thing. I think like a lot of companies have gotten more aware of accessibility, which has been really helpful. And like, I mean, it's funny because I do laugh when I go into a website and it has our accessibility policy. And you click on it, you read it, and you go, "Oh, that's interesting." So they have all these great things they do, but it actually doesn't work because someone didn't know what they're doing coding. So I mean, that's the kind of things I run into even today. And what's funny, if you go to like the Social Security or some of the government sites, they're supposed to be 100% compliant, and sometimes they're not. And so it just really gets frustrating. But as a whole, it's way better. I can do so much more now. So yeah, it's so much easier to do things than it used to be. And that's what I love about technology. That's why I'm really into the technology too. And like, the only thing I don't get into is gaming for obvious reasons.
Though I'm sure there's some programs out there potentially for that.
Well, there's audio games, and there's some on actually iOS and even Android.
Okay.
But there's some audio. There's one that I could actually invite you guys to play. It's playing dice. You're rolling the dice, and
cool.
you're rolling against each other. And I think there's some other ones that it's on. There's some space ones that you use only. It's kind of cool though when you think about it. As I'm talking with you, I think it's really cool for sighted people to use audio-based games because you can't use your eyes. You have to close your eyes and listen to your environment and see what's going on to be able to beat the game. That's something we ought to do together. All three of us find a game like that and try to go through one of those campaigns together.
Okay,
that'd be interesting.
That would be an experience.
That would be
We could do a podcast update once in a while.
Yeah. See how far we got. See how Tate beat us all because we don't know
what we're doing. Yeah, I was gonna say like one of the things I'm impressed about you, Tate, with is that your memory is really good.
What'd you say?
I didn't say your hearing. I said your memory.
That's true. Good point. That's why I need new glasses. I can't hear a thing.
I guess you work out your memory a lot more.
I'll tell you what, getting older, it's getting harder and harder.
Is it?
That's something Justin can look forward to in the future. As he gets older, he'll forget things, which is what I
do.
Yeah, it blows my mind. You sit there, something you say probably 10 times a day. 2 days later, you try to say the same word, and you go, "What was that name?" That kind of thing. It's just, what do they call it? Oh, can opener. That's what I was trying to say. So little things like that. But as you get older, but no, I do use a lot of memory. You're right, Chad. It just, you have to. That's why trying to put things in the same place has been challenging in my life. That's people. I love place people. I believe in that old phrase that says, is it everything has a place and everything should be in its place or something like that. I'm a big fan of that. But
I bet.
But sometimes
makes life a little easier.
But sometimes you just can't do it. I mean, sometimes it just doesn't happen. I mean, it's people are people, man, and you got to love them through it, and they have to love through some of the goofy things that you do. Because I'm pretty sure there's things my wife could bring her over here right now and probably point about 10 things that irritate her to death. So that's so it all works out in the end.
So for details. Just because I'm a detail person. So and you can shut me down if it's too sensitive or too.
You're fine.
But I'm just curious because I want to put together the timeline. What year roughly did you, or even what age roughly did you officially lose your sight?
I mean, it was when I was born. They said it was going to happen due to cataract scarring and some other things. What happens is it's like a little screen in the back of your eye that keeps growing with your eye to give the right amount of light. That's part of the problem. My screen is the same as was when I was born. So not enough light getting to back. But even when they start going to the back, they still realize when they started putting cameras down in there and trying to figure it out, they realized really simply that it was too much scarring for it. Even more light would help. So they said over time I probably would lose my total even light perception by the age of 30 years old, but I'm 52 now. Sorry, 52. And I actually still have pretty decent light perception. So I'm actually blessed by that. I think that's actually a win in my book. And I think that helps. I mean, it's funny though. My wife, who's again been married for 20 years, I was sitting down in the family room where I'm at now, the other morning drinking some coffee, and she walks in and goes, "Why are you sitting in the dark?" I said, "I don't even think about it." I really don't. It
Don't
doesn't
you know I'm
even
always
click
sitting in
with
the
me.
dark?
Yeah, that's right. No, I don't think about that kind of stuff. It's just, it's like I say comments, people get all worried to say, "Have you seen Maverick?" And I went, "Oh, I'm so sorry." You know, like, oh, you can use it's a terminology. It's not like you're asking me physically did I see it. It's okay. It's cool. Um, yeah, so we watched about half of it. It's a good movie. I thought it was pretty good for a sequel. They did a good job so far.
For a
We
sequel, like
are
35 years later.
Yeah. Hey,
I
better late than
wasn't.
never, right?
I watched the Elvis movie recently, and I wasn't. I don't know. It just it left me. I don't know. It didn't like a lot of good like movies that recap people's life. You walk away going, "Wow, this movie was not like that." I mean, you walked away going, "Huh." Yeah. I don't know if either one of y'all have seen it yet, but it's
We have not.
there's a lot of things it missed. Like it never talked about his Christianity part, which I was sad because he put out like 5 or 6 gospel albums. They were really good for that time. And he also, I mean, there's a lot of things about his life that they just didn't cover. And I thought, wow, that's really sad. Like, you know, because I thought for sure that would be some of the things they would talk about because it was a big deal in his later part of his life. So,
I remember seeing the trailer and I felt like it definitely had an agenda to the narrative they wanted to tell.
right.
And I think part of culture also right now is trying to do a lot of this kind of digging up of, ooh, people aren't the heroes you thought them to be. And so even though there might have been redeeming qualities, I think they're choosing to ignore that. Unless it's people, then you do want to celebrate like the Elton John movie that was out a little while ago.
I never saw that one. I saw the
See,
Queen.
I
Didn't see that one.
I didn't see the Queen one. I didn't see Bohemian Rhapsody, but I did see Rocket Man, I think was what it was
Yeah, I,
called.
think it was,
With,
I have not seen that yet. Was that pretty good? I mean, it's
I
weird to have
enjoyed
somebody
it.
still
Yeah.
alive. It's weird to have somebody still alive when they do tell them that they do tell the story. It's just weird to me.
We're gonna do a biopic of
That's
you. I hope we
true.
don't screw it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, don't, if you don't do anything, please don't die to the movies. Well, you can die at the end of the movie. That's fine. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah.
When you're done watching it, of course, he just came out with a new song with Britney Spears, believe it or not. Strange things are always happening.
So how's it feel to be up to this point in your parenting journey? You have
I keep thinking like empty Nestor Syndrome coming soon to a home near you. No, I don't know how I feel about it. I really don't. I know my wife hates to even talk about it because she just, in fact, he's growing up so fast, just it's driving her insane. But yeah, I mean, nothing I can do about that. I can't say, honey, I can't just put him back in 3rd grade and let him start back over, you know,
because that would be weird.
That would be weird. Here's my
Pretty sure that breaks
9-year-old
laws.
son graduating high school. So yeah. But no, I mean, I worry about their future. I really do. I think they're finding all kinds of challenges that they don't normally run into, especially kids that are, I just say, it's raising them as believers, as Christians. I think we are bucking the mainstream so much now, just in what we teach to our kids when we allow them. Now we allow them probably more than probably we should because we're just human. But at the same time, you know, we want to protect what we can't. I mean, I won't tell you where my son was working. We went to a job and it just, he stuck it out for like 5 months, his first job, but it just kept getting to the point to where he was asked to do things that weren't ethical. He was being asked to, he was like, one time, I'll just tell you this, he was cleaning the bathroom and he looked over on the counter and someone left a little joint sitting there. And he's like, I'm not touching it. And his boss like, no, you need to pick it up. My son kept telling, no. He said, I'm not touching it. He says, because I never get blamed for having that because that's illegal. That's how he looked at things. And his boss got really frustrated with it and finally just, you know, told him to go on and whatever. But the point is, it's just, like I told him, you're not going to find the same values, same, you know, faith and values that you find even in places that quote unquote are Christian places because humans still work there.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing to be an influencer and not a reactor to it. And that's what I try to encourage him to be like, you know, do the right thing. Even if it makes somebody mad, that's doing the wrong thing. Just do it. Don't be mean about it. Don't sit there and brag about it. Well, you're doing the wrong thing. Ha ha ha. You know, but you do what you're supposed to do. Stay in your own lane, stay in your business, and you'll survive pretty well. But the problem is people are people again. and people don't stay in each other. People get in each other's lane and they get in each other's business, or they decide they don't like you for whatever reason. You wore pink, pink shoelaces and your black shoes, whatever. But the point is, they just really, you got to be ready for that stuff. And I feel like we are not as prepared as we were when we probably stepped out of the house and went on our own. I think that society today has really screwed a lot of that vision up. I hope it hasn't, but it feels like it does. So you have to unteach a lot of things as you're teaching things. So it's been very challenging.
Yeah, I feel like I remember my parents saying the same thing about when I was, a teenager, and comparing that to where when they were the same age, and things are just different, you know. And so yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, kids are having to deal with, like, I gotta tell you, when I was Marshall's age, I hadn't seen a joint yet. Like, just being honest.
Good
Maybe
point.
I was sheltered, maybe
I don't think I
whatever,
had
but
either, actually. I think you're right.
um, so it absolutely is true. But I think it's true probably if just about every generation would say the same thing. But I guess, and this is a great thing to be talking about on the podcast here, right? Being dads, and it's what do we do to equip them? And
And will it stick? That's always my big worry. I think some
yeah,
people will. I think Marshall's pretty good much about he's an analytical rule follower, even though he likes to have fun. But still, I mean, I think I told him one time, he's like, well, they're doing it wrong. They're doing something wrong. And I need to tell a supervisor. I said, no, you don't. Let them figure it out, because it's not your responsibility. It's not your business. All you're going to do is just make people more mad at you. And why do that when they'll get in trouble on their own? Don't worry. They're doing enough. They'll get caught. So don't worry about it. And he's like, okay. It just, it fault against everything. It's almost like we're having to fight against things that we taught him are the right things to do when you go to the infinite degree of it. And I think that's where we're running into a lot of challenges, because like people do not act like you think they would a lot of times. I mean, customer service these days are just getting more and more and just really bad.
Oh,
I hate to say
oh.
it. Just, I mean, it's funny when we went through a Wendy's drive-through a couple weeks ago, and the guy starts leaning out the window telling us to back up and come forward again because he wanted to reset the timer so they don't get in trouble.
oh my.
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
Oh, my. That was crazy. I thought that was insane. I was like, oh my gosh. And the sad part, they only had 2 people working in there. So that didn't help matters either.
Yeah.
It's just, I understand a lot of things, but gosh, can't we just hire good people that just mean well and want to be customer service? So it's been a challenge. I think we're going to see it more and more as time goes by. I think it's the lack of values that are being taught this day. I mean, Chad and Justin, you guys both probably understand this, because I know Pierce has been in youth group, and Chad, Justin, you have a youth group, and even in youth group, some of these kids are, you might think, well, we're going to reach out outside the church to bring people in. They're sitting right in front of you because mom and dad said, get in there. They have no interest in being in there.
Yeah, and I started volunteering for our student ministry, Tate, over here at the San Pablo campus where we go. And
what grade do you lead, Chad?
Sixth grade boys.
Ain't nothing challenging about that.
I love me some
and
6th graders. They're the best.
And it's a whole thing. But I gotta tell you, these kids are dealing with talking from the first week, these kids are talking about stuff that they're dealing with that
never thought about that.
I had no category for these things when I was in 6th grade. It is crazy. It is really crazy. And you're right. There are kids there who are like, parent drops them off. Hey, free babysitter. Don't really care what you do. Just be here when I come to pick you up. And don't get kicked out. And don't, it's not don't get in trouble. It's like, make sure there's no hassle for me. Like, I don't want to have to come in and talk to
make sure I can drop you back off next week.
Yes. But then there's the kids who really want to be
Right.
there, and there's everything in between. And I love that we really just try to set up an environment where it's a safe space for everyone to come in and have an encounter with Jesus or not, if so they choose, right? And unfortunately, it's probably the only space like that they're entering
All week.
into
Yeah.
that's that way all
Yep.
week.
I see
Exactly.
that. I mean,
Yeah. So
I mean, even I'm talking about even church camps. Woo! I mean, I know we got to bring people in that are lost and help them understand the difference, but man, I wonder sometimes if it's we got to screen a little bit more. Uh,
yeah, well, and
that sounds
so
so
one
wrong to
thing.
say that, but God can do amazing things. He can use amazing things. Use a donkey.
So
So,
not to preach here, but Justin, one thing we this weekend we went through Psalm 127,
Mm-hmm.
and if the Lord doesn't build the house, it's that psalm. And one thing that Joby said that really stuck with me is, as Christians, we cannot push our belief system on society. We really just have to love them. And that may sound to some initially like a cop out, but the deal is we can't, we have tried to push our belief system on society and it doesn't work. And so the way I have taken it with my boys is, look, I don't care what little Johnny down
that's
the
not.
street is doing. You tell me what you think is right. Let's talk about it. Okay,
Yeah.
why? Okay, why? Like show
Yeah.
me, show you think this is what God is calling you to do, or you think this is what God says? Where? Show me. And really, really pushing them to have some context there, right?
You
To
teach them
to
how to
have some
think.
depth. Absolutely. And that way they can go out and they can change. They can change the people that they
Yeah.
interact with. But Tate, one thing that we've talked about a couple times is that like home is where kids are really supposed to try things
Mhm.
out, allow them to
Yep.
fall down, allow them to fail. So when they go out and they're on their own, they will have they'll know some of these
My
things.
wife has told
They'll
my
know.
son lots of times. He goes, "If you want to have a drink, do it in front of us. If you think something you need that is so important to do it with us. Don't go out and sneak around and do it. At least if you do it with us, we'll be there for you over there.
We can
And
put you to bed.
yeah, which is bad. But no, I mean but my son don't care about that. I mean, he really doesn't care about drinking. That's just the last thing he cares about. But again, some people are wired differently. And my son's not wired in that direction, which is I thank God for that. It's not really a thing for our family, 100%. But I don't know. I just sit here and think about. I like the idea of that because if you don't have friends hang out, I'd rather hang out over here if I can.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We'll leave the family room. They can have the whole room, play games, whatever. But I don't know. I just think it's really risky right now. A lot of times, you just you keep hearing about the fentanyl overdoses, and a lot of these are young kids, I'm talking 15 to 20 years old, who just need a little Adderall or something just to be able to focus, do the homework. They take it and they get this pill from their friend. Oh man, these are Adderall. This is great. Take one, dead the next day because it was mixed with fentanyl and they didn't know it. And that's happening. What I just heard today, 300 people a day in this country are dying with overdoses with fentanyl. So, I mean, that kind of stuff is risky for our kids. I mean, that's out there. And I got to make sure that my son doesn't take anything. So if he has a headache, you make sure you get out of a box, with the label
Yeah.
on it and sealed, or one of
We
those
we believe
blister
we can
packs.
trust the government, so
Oh, yeah. Okay. I have a special one for that one. So yeah, I don't know. I get really passionate about this because I think a lot of kids today are not really prepared. And there's a lot like Chad kind of brought it home for me when he says 6 graders and what they're having to deal with. It makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's stuff that we probably didn't talk about till 10th, 11th grade when we were growing up. And now it's like probably common speak or common discussions. Some of these different things that are happening. And I mean, social media is not helping. It's made it worse. No. And like it or not, I'm, not a big fan of TikTok, but boy, that's where the kids are. That's what I know for a fact they are. And they get a lot of and now, which makes me sad, a lot of the societal policies or opinions are now making it on TikTok. So they're going to get that point of view without an opposite way of looking at it. So you got to teach your kids, not everything on TikTok is real. Probably most of it. It's not real. So just take it for entertainment. If you take anything else, you're wasting your time. You're messing up. That's kind of how I look at it. Because I don't keep him off TikTok. He's going to get on there. I'd rather not have that something to argue about. I'd rather them have it responsibly than trying to sneak around about it. For sure. Right and wrong. And I point out things like we watch movies that may be a little intense, but we talk about the right and wrong of it. Sometimes just because the fact is that makes more sense. It's just like, it's not right to kill people. Man, you can't pull a gun out like, homeboy, Keanu Reeves.
John Wick.
Kids do that. Yeah. John Wick is I was trying to think of. So I watched all three of those with my son. And I'm like, whew, dude, it's a little much. Even for me. I mean, it's like 9,000 bullet shot. Not one touches him. It's not real, dude. It's not real.
There's no way. Fun to watch though.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's fun to watch.
Taking all that into account, right? I feel like we've talked about so many different, societal, political issues here. So how can we bring this back to being a father? Like, someone who has all of that, like, I hear you, I don't like the way society is trending, whatever.
A lot of you discuss it with your kids. That's what I do. Like, my son will come to me with a news story and I will talk it through. That's been really helpful because he'll say, I don't get this. Why are they saying this? And I'll explain what's going on, the context of it. And now he's starting to show me stuff, which it's good. I like that. I like the fact that he's starting to see and think for himself. But you have to show examples. I think you have to walk him through it.
Yeah, I love that.
Another thing that I think is very important, is not said very often. I'm very proud of my son, and we love praying together, which I really like. And like, my wife's kind of under the weather, and he walked up to her today and started praying for her, which is really cool. So that kind of stuff I really like too. And I just think that I keep encouraging that. So it's like, I heard this analogy a long time ago, and this is kind of look at it from a parent standpoint. If you want meat and potatoes from your kids, and broccoli is kind of messing things up, get rid of the broccoli. Concentrate on the meat and potatoes then. And that has a tendency to it won't be enough room on the plate for it then. And that's just a simple analogy, but it makes a lot of sense when you think about the fact is just communicate with your kids. I get frustrated sometimes, and I'll be honest with you, it's not perfect, because sometimes he'll be up there like, I'll say, where's Marshall been? He's up in his room all day. Like, get down here, that kind of thing. And that happens once in a while, but most of the time we try not to let it happen. But yeah, so it's just, I think socializing a little bit's good, but again, just spend quality time with them if you can, because it won't last long. Justin will know this in about 16 years.
Oh man.
Oh,
yeah.
Lord.
It's
the
me. Truth. And it happens.
Yeah.
It happens in a flash. I mean, I know that's like, oh my God. Like, that's what my parents said. And my parents said it too. And I rolled my eyes. But it was like, Pierce graduated, and all of a sudden it's like, wait, you don't wanna hang out with me anymore?
You're leaving? You're going to college?
Wait, you have things of your own to do? What's happening? But yeah, no, I love that. I love that, Tate. And that's something that we've tried to do too. And there's so many, I think however old your kids are, I don't think it's really ever too late. I mean, one of the things that we try to do is just to create opportunities for our kids to engage with us on that level, like you're talking about.
Right.
And that can be, one of the great things that a lot of kids have in common is they love to eat.
True.
So that's one of the places where we talk the most. If there's food involved, you keep them at the table, it'll happen. So yeah, no, I love what you say about that, about just, they ask a question or they offer an opinion on something that you think may be a little half-baked. So you just kind of dig into that.
Yeah, I
say,
do. Yeah.
Tell me
Unpack
more. That's right. I love that.
That's very solid, dude. It's a solid advice.
I love that. So Justin, you got any burning questions for Tate?
I feel like
we gone through it
and expressed and expounded, and my brain needs to process. And if there are burning questions,
and it's
there'll have
past
to
my
be
bedtime.
a sequel.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, I'm a early sleeper and early riser. I love getting up early.
Yes.
That's
I'm
something
with
I'm
you
trying
on
to
that.
work on.
You will. You'll change. Don't worry. One day you'll wake up and you'll realize, why have I been getting up so early last week? And then it'll just continue. You'll be fine.
Oh, I've
It's
been
part of growing up.
I've been doing it this past week intentionally, just because I'm going through a master's program, just started.
Oh,
And
geez.
I'm trying to create space in my day where I can do that without being needed, whether it's work or Amelia. And even Megan will sleep in, or even if she gets up with me, she does her quiet time during that space
Right.
as well. So, and then after Amelia goes to bed, but I know Megan also wants that time. So I'm trying to create moments where I can do school intentionally and be focused on it without causing a riff with somebody else.
I understand. You got to have priorities. You got to have boundaries. And I think that sometimes we let life outside the house invade too much in the house. I've seen that happen. And that's just, I try not to have it happen. I mean, once in a while, I have to meet one of my clients, like 8 o'clock tonight, because they're a couple hours behind me. So it's not 8 o'clock for them. But that's something we plan.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't randomly call. It's like, hey, can we talk for an hour? Okay. No.
Yeah.
Yep.
The answer is
We've all been
no.
there. The answer is no.
No.
I'm an early bedtime person, early riser. Like
Well,
the day, like go outside, do some quiet time outside when, like in the spring or fall, when it's really quiet and it's not that humid, the mosquitoes aren't around. Wow, it's just kind of neat.
It's nice.
So I'm going to pull an audible here.
Do it.
Since we're getting late, and Tate, I know now that you and I are both early to bed people.
Yep.
So, Tate, we want to thank you for being on the Dad Report. And Tate, since you were the professional here, will you please close us out?
Okay. Ain't nothing like being put on the spot.
That's right.
Thank you so much for letting me be part of the Dad Report. You can hear weekly or bi-weekly or whenever Justin gets around to editing it, right here on the same podcast channel. Thank you guys for letting me be part of this. It's been really cool, especially getting to know you, Justin, and Chad. What's the right word?
Reconnecting.
Reconnecting. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Reconnecting. It's been really cool to do that. It's just been nice. It's been really fun, guys.
It's been super fun and honoring having you here, Tate. Thanks for sharing your wisdom.
Yeah, thanks, Tate.
You're absolutely welcome. Absolutely welcome. Cool. Thank you,
All
guys.
right. Thank you. We're going to close this Dad Report out. Till next time.
Is it closed?
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. You can support us by sharing the show with your friends and family. Please subscribe, rate, and leave a review.
Want more of the Dad Report? Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and even join the community over on Discord. Don't forget to send us your dad jokes for a chance to be featured on the show.
Remember the words of Billy Graham about fatherhood. A good father is one of the most unsung, unpraised, unnoticed, and yet one of the most valuable assets in our society.
So if you are a dad, we're cheering you on. If you have a dad, be kind to him. And if you know a dad, tell him about our podcast.